Hello, my name is Terry Sacka, and you are watching The Wealth Transfer, where global economics, biblical principles, and protecting and preserving your family's wealth, everything you've worked hard for, is paramount, and we do this through education. So we're going to spend some time here over the next couple programs giving you jam-packed data, graphs, and images that are going to show you exactly what's going on now in the current U.S. state and the global state that should really alarm the body of Christ. All we know, we have something coming to this nation that we've never seen, and we in the body of Christ need to be prepared. So we're going to hit on the few topic areas that is the discussion. Are we in deflation? Are we in inflation? What's really going on with the data, and how best do we protect ourselves? I'm a chief strategist and analyst, multiple financial licenses, accredited asset management specialist. I deal only in the real assets out of the ground to the mailbox, I guess, or the vault. And we are along with Dr. Charles Vance, author, pastor, and definitely amazing man of God. So welcome,
Terry,
Charles.
glad to be along on the program today. We've got some exciting things to share with people.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times, the name of this program is Wealth Transfer, and I know you contemplated a long time before we ever started this program, and then again a long time before you ever decided what name to use.
We're in our third year, aren't we?
I believe so.
Yeah, this is third year we've been on Christian television, so it's...
But my point is a lot of people don't really understand that wealth transfer is taking place all of the time. Mm-hmm. You're either positioned to lose your wealth, whatever you have, mm-hmm. or to gain wealth. So it's our responsibility as human beings and as children of God, mm-hmm. to get ourselves positioned so that wealth can come to us. I've heard people so many times say, well, there's a big end-time wealth transfer, it's all going to come to us. It's not going to come to you if you're not prepared for it. You have to be prepared spiritually and financially. Financially is one of the places where the body of Christ has really dropped the ball on this. And as we get into this program today, we're going to show you some ways that you can pick the ball back up and start running with it again. Oh, it's really important.
I like that, Charles. I do. I like that. And we have, like we're saying, we have the talk. The talk is we have deflation coming. This is the big talk in the circles. We're getting ready to enter in a massive deflation. And then there's talk, well, it's going to be an epic depression. We're going to have inflation, hyperinflation. What's really going on? Well, let's illustrate what deflation really is. Deflation means prices come down to the level where we then are willing to spend our savings to buy something. Most people are hoarding onto typical hoarding when you're not confident about things. And so they're saying we're entering a cycle of incredible deflation. The problem with that, though, deflation can work for a short period of time. But if a deflation is sustained for a long period, even the Federal Reserve Chairman said he would print money and drop it out of a helicopter to keep deflation from happening. Why is that? Deflation does not work in a Keynesian economic model like us in the West, because we are deficit debt spending countries where we need to keep having inflation and printing more money, diluting our buying power. We need to have that. I actually call that robbing the future wealth of generations, but they must have it work that way in order to have Keynesian economics be successful.
Jerry,
deflation does not allow that.
Isn't it true that the only way that our financial system can work, that we operate in America, that Keynesian system, is that it has to move?
It has to
currency.
move.
We have to exchange it. I have to give it to you.
Going back
you have
and
to
forth.
give it back to me.
Yes.
Or else the system collapses.
Yes.
Because it's a fake system.
That's right.
We're not exchanging real items for real items. We're exchanging money for stuff. Yes. And this, or there's not really money, currency, you have to have in your mind that this is worth what I'm trading you for.
Yes, and problem is the banks that we're getting this from or storing it in are loaning out in a fractional basis 20, 25 times what they bring in.
No,
so
you need to explain that.
I don't want to go
people.
that deep on that because,
okay.
let them research it. This is a
All
show.
right.
You research some things
Called
on your
fractional
own.
banking.
Fractional banking,
yeah.
Meaning if they have $1 million, if you put $1 million in that bank, they're loaning out $25 million on paper. It's not real.
Okay.
If we all rush to the bank to get this out, They don't have it. Matter of fact, if you try to take more than $5,000 out of the bank right now, they report you to the government as suspicious. I find that incredibly, unbelievably shameful on the system.
Your money.
And they're trying to say we're trying to just stop, criminality. No, there's a lot more to it than that. They're trying to condition your mind that this somehow isn't yours. They want to put it on a cashless society, but we're not going there. I'm really saying the banks don't have it. If you knew the rules, when you put this in a bank, you are giving a loan to the bank. You're known as an unsecured creditor. So when the banks collapse, they pay back derivative holders first, secured creditors second, third will be you. This is not yours in the bank. You're giving a loan to the bank. That's why they pay you interest. Keep that in mind. Now they're talking about deflation. Deflation, prices coming down. Long period sustained deflation, we're in a lot of trouble. It's not going to happen because if we had long sustained deflation, everything we know will collapse. The banks have 25 to 1 out-loaned out. If we have deflation, the banks collapse. The government collapses. We cannot have deflation. But let's kind of illustrate some of this because the cycles through deflation, if you understood a little bit more, you'll feel better about it. Why it can't work? Let's go to image number 10 to kind of give this illustration. Fiat consequences. This is the fiat currency we were talking about. Look at that money printing. You see down at the bottom there, this is when the US dollar became fiat. Fiat meaning fake. Look at how much money printing has happened over these years. This is the consequence of printing money. You don't have anything to back it up. Oh, I am so sorry. That actually is double that line. I did this on purpose.
Is it for real?
That is only $9 trillion. Our government has actually printed $18 trillion today. That's off by
the Federal Reserve Banking
Federal Reserve Banking is doing that. Now,
wow.
Here's another illustration of that. Now, so you see the bottom one is when we started printing fake money. Look at how diluted. When that goes up, it's diluting your buying power. You can take that off because here's the next illustration.
Before that was going on, they had to have some reserve silver or gold in the bank to back up the currency they printed, right?
Gold and silver to back up the currency back in the day. This is a silver certificate. They were equal. We take the silver or the silver certificate to the bank, they would give you the silver dollar. They had to have this backing up this. Why was it important in our Constitution that they said we always had to have this to back up our currency? Because it keeps the government in check from spending more than they have. The elites are trying to push it through where they could do a gazillion of these and it doesn't matter anymore. If I've got the best military, I win. It just doesn't bear witness to history, and it doesn't bear witness to the Bible. Now, in the essence of deflation, what we just showed you there, where fiat money printing began, right at that point, you see is low. We didn't have a lot of in circulation. At that time, we had a few $100 billion in circulation. Today, trillions and trillions. And that time, baby boomers were just beginning to make their money. Today, they're retiring 10,000 every day coming off of taxes, going on to unfunded liabilities, Medicare, Social Security, we don't have the money for. It's projected in the next 10 years alone, we're going to need some $60 trillion to pay for all of this baby boomer transfer. We don't have the money. They're going to have to print more of this. Something is going to reckon. Back then, we were the world's largest creditor nation. We loaned more money to the world, and that's why we bought friends. Today, we're the world's largest debtor nation. We owe more money than any country in the history of the world, more than the Roman Empire, more than the Greek Empire, more than any nation in the world today.
Those guys are gone now, aren't they?
They're all gone, is my point. I don't believe we've got the best military. I'm ex-United States Army, and I would contest to that. We have a tremendous group of young men and women and leaders in the military. Of course, they're being decimated right now through the cleansing of the rankings, which I find, horrid. But they're wonderful men and women of our nation. So That said, we have changed. The reckoning day is coming. We need to be educated. We need to find out what we can do and how to protect our assets for what is coming. How do we do that? Check this out. This is some information that you can do.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, in that last graph I showed you, when we started to print this, we went from 300 billion in circulation to trillions and trillions. It's out of control. At that time, these were equal. They both bought you the same thing because you take this to the bank and they gave you the silver 1 ounce. This was a silver certificate. No longer, since then, we started printing what we call the Federal Reserve note. It is not a US dollar. It is an IOU. They both back then bought you the same thing, 5 gallons of gas on average. If they both bought you 5 gallons of gas, that was pretty good, fine, they're equal. Well, today, I still hold my silver instead of the paper. I sell my silver today. Not only can I buy the same 5 gallons of gas I did when they started printing that money, I can buy 9, twice as much gasoline for my car as I did when they started printing the paper money. How much can you buy with this? You used to be able to buy 5 gallons when they started printing. They've printed trillions. How many gallons can you buy? Right, not even a half a gallon. This is what's happening. It's known as a reckoning day. It's coming as a reckoning. Our nation is going to experience something we've never seen before, we've never experienced, and all of us alive probably will never see again. It just happens to be our time. It's the cycle of things. How do I know? The last chart I showed you, we've printed from only a few hundred billion up to 9 trillion in the national debt. That was on purpose. Look at this next one, 10 alpha. Now they own right there. The last time I showed you is the first blue circle, or close to it. The years of surplus, I'm sorry, that blue circle there is a year of surplus. The only time we ever actually had a surplus. But if we had a surplus, we're still 6 trillion in debt. So it was never a surplus. Today on the right, we have 18 trillion, and it's actually almost 19 now, in debt. It's exploded. So you can take that off. We have diluted your ability to buy something 100-fold in just the recent history since the last market crash of 2008. We are going in a dramatic upward skyrocketing spiral of debt. They can't stop. So vital to understand, because your buying power, your future, your inheritance to your children is essential to protect and preserve. So let's go into...
Isn't the government paying billions of dollars?
We're going to get into that. I'm going to show you this.
Right.
Let's show you this. Here's what's really coming to America in a cartoonish illustration. Number 11, the wave of debt that's getting ready to hit this nation right there. Right at the bottom is our little house. Look at that tsunami coming. That is known as our national debt. I'm not kidding about that. You can take that off. That is what is getting ready to come to this country. It is coming whether you believe it or not. It's going to happen whether you believe it or not. Are you prepared properly? Let's go to image 12. This is our debt versus our ability to produce as a nation, known as a GDP. This image is unbelievable. Because if you can see there, since 1940, World War II versus now, the big spike there kind of in the middle, that was World War II. We are on the verge of meeting the same spike as we did in World War II for debt. and yet we're not in a world war, are we?
What's the GDP? Explain
The
that
gross
to people.
domestic product, the ability to produce goods and services.
Okay.
But the biggest thing, you can take that off
So
because you see the spike.
That's relative to the U.S. federal debt. Is that
Yes,
what you're saying?
but here's
So-
the problem here. In World War II, we basically kind of had clean balance sheets to some extent, right? We really did. We had gone bankrupt as a nation, literally. We were bankrupt, and it was because the Europeans were bringing gold to us. We were getting all this gold from the Europeans because Hitler was attacking them, and we became wealthy again. We then went and spent an enormous amount of money to go to World War II. That's the first spike. We haven't really been in that magnitude of game changers. Now, for most people alive today, we don't have memory of World War II. Do your history on what living was like in the United States. Courageous women were building machinery and tanks and bombs, and the men were going off to war in Europe. Unbelievable hardships in our families and our lives, not just here but in Europe. And that was that first spike. We're there already, and yet look at how we think we're living. Are you living a World War II lifestyle?
Where's the money coming from?
Money printing is why.
Oh, okay.
World War II, we had to have gold and silver to back it up. You are living right now a life that is not sustainable if you're not in the right asset. You must get this because soon you're going to see the reckoning, and you need to be reckoned in the right direction. So let's go into number 13. This is America's finances. And this is kind of important to understand. We in America, our finances, you can see the presidents there. I really don't care about that. I'm not interested in politics too much. But the red is our debt. Look at how we've literally, it's like an iceberg getting ready to take down the Titanic. Our revenue is about the same. It doesn't really change. Our deficit is in the yellow. Look at how big our deficit's become. Yeah, it's shrinking a little, they think. But look at our debt. We cannot sustain that. The world will not tolerate that. And this is important to know because this is the iceberg that is going to change the world. You can take that off. This is what's going to change the world as we know it. The Russians, the Chinese currency is getting ready to become a reserve currency in October. I know they're going to make it, and if they don't, they're not going to be happy. The Russians want our dollar off as petrodollar. And if you only knew that every nation in the world since the 70s, when that whole fiat thing started, every nation, we made an agreement with Saudi Arabia that every nation had to buy a barrel of oil with a dollar. Because of that, every country had to store dollars in their bank to buy oil. So then they would buy our bonds. Today, I reckon the petrodollar is in jeopardy. The petrodollar has been in jeopardy for some time. That's what happened in Iraq in 2002. They started selling oil for euros. We invaded them in 2003. Mind you, it's connected. Today, we're having issues with Russia and China doing energy deals in their own currency. Turkey and Iran doing energy deals without the dollar. The dollar has become marginalized to only 60% of the world's reserve transaction status. What that really means is this is getting ready to lose tremendous market share, influence, and power. And if we have trillions and trillions and trillions out in the system and they don't want it anymore, what is going to happen? It's going to come home. And this is where I know Charles was alluding to interest rates. Now remember, in the 60s, remember in the 70s, the massive inflation we had. In the 60s, the French President de Gaulle caught wind of this. He knew we were printing more of these than we had the gold and silver to back it up. So he said, give me my gold back. We started sending his gold back, and all of a sudden other countries started taking their gold back. We were sending more of our gold back to the people who literally owned it because they knew we were printing more than we did. And they said, that's not fair. We're getting a loan for free. They retaliated and said, give me my gold. The only reason we came off the gold standard in 1971 is because President Nixon knew that if the world knew we didn't have this to back up what we're printing, we would have collapsed, went shamefully bankrupt. But we convinced them strategically that because we're the world's superpower in the military, that our dollars to be trusted, we don't need gold and silver anymore. And we've successfully been able to hold that off for some 30, 40 years. I'm saying the reckoning's coming. And the reckoning is vital to understand because our future wealth, our future ability to have family, sustainable living standards, support the church, and protect and preserve our retirement is in jeopardy. What can we do about it? Get started by getting educated, and here's a good way to do it.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, Charles alluded to the interest rates. He asked, oh, what about the interest rates? You know, you'll hear people talking about it. They're going to raise interest rates. They're going to raise interest rates. They cannot raise interest rates, not like in the 70s when it went up to 19, 20%. It's impossible to do. Why? We have so much debt. You saw in that illustration where the red mountain going down. We are paying interest on that debt.
You're talking about the U.S. government.
The U.S. government is paying interest on that debt.
Okay.
So they need revenue, tax money, to pay the interest. Problem is, currently, we are paying $525 billion a year just for the interest. Sadly, that debt's going to skyrocket. It has to. And as the debt rises, the interest payments rise. If we raise interest just 2 percentage points, it will increase the interest on our debt by hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
So just
we can't afford that, Mike.
Just the U.S. government, just the debt that they owe is costing somewhere right around $2 billion per day interest.
Oh, easy.
Just the interest.
Just the interest, let alone to pay off the debt.
People can't comprehend that.
We can't, but this is part of the problem that we don't get. But what the world gets, China, Russia, those people are tired of our singular superpower status. They're vying to de-dollarize and take us down.
So that's the petrocurrency, the currency. They're trying to eliminate that.
They're trying to eliminate that and eliminate our reserve. As we've talked in the past, we're 60% of that.
You mentioned that China is becoming a reserve currency earlier.
What's
that mean?
I mean, in the IMF, the Strategic Drawing Right has a handful of currencies that they use in the IMF to control.
That's the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank.
And they say there's actually a handful of currencies. The reserve currency is not just the United States dollar. Many people don't know that. The reserve currency in the world is not this. The dollar represents about 60% of the world's reserve currency status. The euro takes another big chunk of that, and then there's a couple other small currencies that fill in. The Chinese yuan is vying for membership to become part of the reserve status, and I contend when they do, they will take market share from both the euro and the U.S. dollar, meaning less and less people will need these. And they won't need them, and when they don't need them, where does it go? Back home.
So you're saying internationally, they're used now, but at that point when China gets in, they're going to get a chunk.
They're going to get the Chinese currency instead. So instead of using this, they're going to store Chinese currency.
So that could be extremely dangerous on our economy.
Well, because it's going to annihilate our economy.
It's going to flood. It's going to flood the economy with even more of these, which they've printed too many now. But it's going to bring more of these back to America and make our buying power less and less. So
if these come back to America at the pace, what we don't know is the level of pace that this is coming to. Is it going to be managed and moderated, then we can control the disaster. If when these come back home, we have inflation problems. If these come back home fast, we have hyperinflation problems. All we know is all the above is bad. If we maintain a sustained deflation, economies, banks, businesses, corporations collapse. Local governments currently are collapsing. State governments are collapsing. cities like Detroit, and there's about 26 others that can't financially meet their obligations. Chicago is on the verge. Pension funds are in trouble. With all of this said, it's like a perfect storm that is heading towards America. All I know is I don't think we collapse to nothing. We get a realignment. We're getting an attitude check, meaning our moral compass better get realigned. I have a feeling we're going to get a big dose of Luciferian butt kicking by Satan, and then God, for the remnant that are standing up, will then show us the way out, the lamp unto our feet. But if we're not in the right asset as the body of Christ, we will lose a tremendous amount of our influence and buying power and the ability to influence financially and spread the resources and feed the poor, because what's coming, as we showed in that illustration, is a tsunami of consequences, not just by our own money management, but by the global standard, China, Russia, and so forth. Because remember, we have other things going on here. Now, this is just in the time frame of September of 2015. In September of 2015, we have known as the Shemitah cycle. And if you haven't researched that or heard about it, you may want to. A wonderful gentleman wrote a book on the harbinger of it, and it illustrated how this Shemitah 7-year debt reckoning cycle has been happening all the way back through the Great Depression. 9/11 and 2008 market crash was not only on a Shemitah, but to the Elul 29, to the minute, to the hour of debt reckoning. Meaning, if you're not in God, you're going to get whooped, and you're not going to. Your debt is going to be your finances, basically your wealth is going to be just sucked out of you, and that's part of this. That's why 9/11 and 2008 we saw such a dramatic loss of our wealth and buying power. The next one's coming this September, and this one is backed on the heels of a 4-blood moon and a jubilee. Next week, we're going to get into that. God bless you.
If you miss one of these programs, you can go back on our website, cornerstoneassetmetals.com, and watch these programs on demand. My name is Charles Vance for Terry Sokka. I hope you'll join us right here next week for more of the Wealth Transfer. We'll see you then.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.